What's today's theme?
26th.
Today's date, yeah. Today's date is 26th. Damn. Talking to one of our customers yesterday, he's like, you and Byler are always like getting all the cords ready, like trying to go live.
We learn each day.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Cool. Are we on?
We're live.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Raw Take for CEOs. And May is the month of marketing here. And of course, you saw Korey and John, two of our marketing champions.
With Aster last week.
Yeah, with Aster, with the customer.
If you haven't checked it out, check out last week's episode. It's all around one of our awesome customers, Frog and Toad, detailing their marketing story.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
It was good. Nice job, guys. Steve's not on today either, so he's not.
I think he's abandoning us.
Yeah, he's not the marketing guy. Anyways, first things first. So I'm kind of stoked. Last night we did our first Clubhouse. Anybody doesn't know Clubhouse, $1 billion valuation. It's I guess it's another social media platform with a different twist. I'll let Korey kind of talk a little bit about Clubhouse and what it is. But anyways, we did the theme of our Clubhouse room was hyperinflation and how it impacts startups. And, very timely, we talk about inflation as impacting operating businesses, manufacturing businesses, hardware, inventory intensive businesses, if you will. But the reality is inflation creeps up in all different places, and especially in HR intensive companies, whether it takes longer lead times to hire employees, find employees, or having to pay more. One of the key takeaways around managing inflation in a human capital intensive business was pay for performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot. And of course, paying for performance starts with really good, solid, transparent conversations, expectations with your team. But more importantly, back to the finance and accounting, it really starts with good planning, right? You got a good, solid annual operating plan. So that was kind of fun. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about Clubhouse, geek out to that a little bit?
I actually...
Don't tell me you don't know what it is.
No, I actually think Clubhouse is like a great transition into this conversation because why has Clubhouse been successful? Let me start there before talking about the platform itself.
And what is successful? $1 billion valuation, revenue? I don't know.
You can define success in many ways.
We'll leave that for another.
We need a psych session on that.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Clubhouse successful? Clubhouse is basically an audio only platform, right? We think of like Facebook, LinkedIn, like all these other more, I'll call it quote, traditional social media platforms. And there's visual feeds, there's audio, there's videos, pictures, an assortment, right? Mm-hmm. And Clubhouse has kind of distilled it down to one medium, and that one medium being audio, right? And that's not so crazy that they've done so well if we think about the past few years and our just consumers shift to audio, right? Think of Alexa, right? Mm-hmm. Our phones, talking to our phones, right? It's all about audio. Why? It's quick, where we are such as much as we try and deny it, we're multitaskers, right?
Yeah. For
better or for worse. And so audio provides an opportunity for people to listen to things while driving or doing emails or whatever it is, right? And so long story short, Clubhouse has blown up over the past few months, maybe a year, roughly.
6 months.
Because it provides rooms, basically, mini communities based on different values, focuses, etc., where people can have an engaging conversation with people they've never met. That's one of the things I think in line with TikTok, where TikTok has blown up recently, is because the organic reach to it, right? Mm-hmm. You're able to connect with an audience that is organic.
Yeah. So yesterday we did the Clubhouse event with our friends at Tax Taker, one of our close R&D tax credit, R&D credit study boutique shops.
Which we do have a podcast on.
Yes, that's right. Ari has been on. We also had our friends from First Republic, although I guess we're not able to associate the individual with the company for some reason, for security purposes. But anyways, Robert Hughes, he was a great moderator. And of course, lastly, one of our good friends, Steve Walsh, who's also been on our podcast. He was on the series around startups in April. Steve has invested in over 50 startups, and he's a very close advisor to startups. So yeah, no, it was kind of fun. But I will tell you, it was a little intense at first because you got to like go on mute. You have to be able to, and of course, Robert is always like, he would just throw questions at you and you weren't expecting them, and you're like, okay, all right, I need to be able to geek out to economic stuff right now. Yes, inflation, yes, it does exist. It's really bad. It's hidden right now. It's maybe the headline numbers are showing it, but anyways, it was kind of fun. And we had some audience members that actually popped in, and it was funny. This young man went by the handle Wizard, and of course he's an inflation trader, right? So out of all people to actually ask questions, and of course privately, the guys were the team, Tax Taker and Robert and Steve were texting me like, "You're going toe to toe with this guy Wizard. What's going on? You sound very confident." What he said. So of course I'm very confident. So anyways, it was kind of an experience. We're actually looking forward to doing more of that.
Yeah.
This conversation around Clubhouse kind of fits in nicely with May Marketing Month, because this unintentional journey that we've had as a company, never mind as a service provider, it was grounded. Yes, you were pivotal in helping us in the last 5-6 years kind of rethink ourselves, personal branding, and quote unquote putting yourself out there. So that's grounded in risk taking, right? So when you create an environment that you embrace team members to take risks without retaliation, I think that's been a tagline of ours on an HR side since day one. So we have always taken risks and experimented with cutting edge stuff in marketing. So today is going to be about, so what are the tools that we use in marketing? And this list has totally taken me back, because I am like, I'm in my books. I'm a frugal kind of guy when it comes to like spending, and I'm realizing, holy crap, we actually spend a ton of money on all of these platforms, Korey. And I don't know whose back this is coming off of. They all
serve a very unique need. And I think that's something that I want to talk about today, is like, not just getting these platforms, not just being excited by the next like shiny, cool platform solely because it's selling you on blowing up your marketing, but solving a unique need in your marketing strategy.
Right. I still do want to know whose credit card this is all going in under.
I'm blaming John.
It must be John. And so, yeah, you're right. All of these tools, I actually live in these tools too. I'm a data geek. I enjoy understanding the customer journey from lead gen all the way through the engagement agreement process. So I think
that's where it starts.
I'm excited for this, right? The other thing to note today, I'm actually doing a webinar with CPA.com. I don't know if they're affiliated with AI CPA or not, but anyways, it's CPA.com, and talking to about 800 potential attendees, talking to them about finance as a service, and how we differentiate ourselves from a traditional CPA advisory shop. And the topic is, how to scale a finance as a service business, how to build one holistically within this division that many of these companies have called CAS, or, CFO as a service, and how to be more proactive with your customers versus reactive and waiting for customers to call. And then all of a sudden you're billing by the hour in 15-minute increments, which is very much not our MO here. So excited for that.
Check that out. That's 2:00 Eastern today on
CPA.com.
CPA.com. Cool. But with that, like, Dan, we're sitting here. We're a finance as a service company. We're here talking about marketing for the month of May, right? But marketing plays a pivotal role in a conversation that we have often with our customers. Like, why are we talking about marketing? Like, how does that play into this? Like, how should we be thinking about marketing?
Yeah, no, that's actually a good segue. Every company, if you think you can like boil the ocean and you think you can like be great at all of these different things, like you're kidding yourself. You're spreading yourself way too thin. when we look at our core competencies in our company, and by the way, I would not have articulated this like this way 5 years ago, but as we have become, as we have professionalized, institutionalized some of these core competencies, and so for our company, for example, we have three. Obviously, the financial management, right? We're selling this stuff to like customers, whether it's accounting, finance, financial management, tax, right? You have to be an expert at that. Two, we're still a human capital business, so you got to be great at HR. We're not the best. We have a long ways to go, but we're pretty damn good at the HR piece. We have very low attrition, knock on wood. We are able to retain employees, and we're able to create career roadmaps for employees. And we've kind of figured out this whole pay for performance for the last 3 years. The other core competency of our business, and this is part of that unintentional journey, has been marketing. Like we never saw ourselves as a marketing firm or as a marketing.
It was exciting to us, but
it was exciting. You did a great job getting, nurturing the culture around this thing of marketing. I love sales, been a sales guy my whole life. But marketing for me has been very foreign, right? Marketing is technical. It is all about data. There is a creative piece, right? And so when I say it is a core competency, it's because I don't think today, if you don't embrace digital marketing, you're probably going to have a hard time like growing. If the days of like blocking and tackling and shaking hands and post-pandemic, pre-pandemic, it doesn't matter anymore. Like the world has changed.
Well, never mind that, but like it's kind of funny to like think about this, but people used to just, when you Google things, right, it may just have come up alphabetically, right? And so you just go down that list, right, or the phone book, right? I'm looking for plumbers.
Alta Vista directories.
Yeah, like you're looking through the phone book, and you're looking at the A's, and you're just calling, right? Or networking, and that's no longer how things work. You have to reinvent yourself. And I think one of the ways, like when we talk about unintentional, if I look back and try and like find that like how or that why, you referenced before, and you are the data mindset, right? So you look at things through the lens of data and trying to analyze that data, right? And I think maybe that was our foray, like that was our unintentional trigger by looking at the data on some of our social things, on some of our web statistics, right? That forced us to pause and rethink how we did things. Right.
Our internal joke is tweak SEO.
Yep.
Keep tweaking SEO. And so, Korey, to that point, the way things become core competencies, there has to be systems, processes, and people behind it. And our motto here is, we risk, we take risks, we experiment, but at the end of the day, make it boring again, whether it's accounting, FP&A, tax, even marketing, make it boring again. You got to bring it back. You sort of like take a step forward, test it out. If it works, great, but bring it back to the tech stack, figure out how it fits into our processes, into our systems, make sure our people know how to use it, make sure our people know how to analyze that data, and then tweak, right? If you can't tweak off of that data, get rid of that system. It's not worth it.
And know what you're trying to measure against, right? I think that's a problem that most people have is like they jump on this hamster wheel of constantly trying to like get that next platform or get that next rush, without really knowing what they're measuring. They're just trying to get the next customer.
Or worse yet, just spending money on copyright and creating more content and more. Yes, more content is good, but you need to be targeted with that content. So I'm excited to talk about some of these tools and how they fit into it, but focusing on cadence, the tools, and the data, right? Cadence is repeat, make sure it's set in stone, that we're doing it, staying on top of it, recurring. Tools, these are the tools like we either experiment with them and then we bring them into our tech stack, or they, that we replace them,
drop them,
right? We drop them. We've done this a million times, right? Whether it was, you look at it, we're a big HubSpot shop, but we used to use ActiveCampaign. I'm sure ActiveCampaign is still good, but it wasn't good enough for us. And HubSpot today
solves different needs.
Solves a lot of different needs. And then the data, it's like, don't take the data at face value. Like, let's not just buy these systems, stare at them, 5 people in a room and staring at the data and be like, okay, good, move on. Like you have to dig into that data because you can't take it at face value. And that's we're trying to almost make marketing people into analysts. And that is actually a difficult transition for people. So
Well, look at when we are hiring a new marketing analyst.
yes,
And
she
what is
starts
her
next week.
What is her background? What is her major?
I don't know. I didn't interview her. I didn't even look at her resume, man.
Economics.
She went to Brown University. I know that. Oh, yeah, that's right. She's economics.
Economics. That's not the first thing you'd think of, but data, right? The analysis.
Hi, Emlyn. Welcome next week. Also, let's not forget, even Talia on our FP&A team, she's an econometrics major, right? She's not an accountant. She's not an analyst, right? But if you've got that right aptitude, and of course the attitude to actually learn, but if you've got that good data analytical mindset, we can stick you anywhere in this organization.
Just because you have a business major does not mean you can get out of college and run a business.
That's right. No, definitely not. So back to the point today. Today is all about our choice, our tech stack that we've decided to leverage internally and also leverage to some of our customers. So
with analytics, we ask this.
So let's kind of
overview.
How do we bucket all of these? So let's take a step back, right? Because let's go back to this pillar, right, where we have inbound marketing, we've got the outbound sales, we've got advertising and promotion, right? And then above that, we always look at it, okay, and analytics, the purpose of analytics is to inform these decision making. So with all these tools, talk about how you categorize them.
So right now it's pretty much just it comes down to the analytics, like you talked about. We have sales, and then within sales and marketing, it's a mix between inbound and outbound to kind of use the common nomenclature, right? Between emails, it could be between texting, right? So it's one thing that we've kind of explored. Ads, sales navigator, LinkedIn Sales Navigator,
email campaigns,
and all there's different tools that plug into those. So we can go down many layers, and then we have social, which is another grouping. Which social, we're not just talking about like LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. Some of the other things that we're talking about are things like Canva, right? So that's a tool we use, which is basically just to mock up social images, right? But we fit that into our social bucket, right? And then lastly is kind of website. We use a platform, Duda. We historically were a WordPress platform. Can talk all day about that, but then just like website, web presence,
sleepless nights. So let's start with analytics. So what problem are we trying to solve for when we talk about analytics, and why some of these tools that we've landed on to help us inform decision making?
So when I look at analytics, probably the first place I think about checking is probably a tool we use, SEMrush. I'll start there. Why SEMrush?
And we're using the enterprise version of SEMrush, right? Which is actually awesome because of time series.
Amazing. Can't recommend them enough. And great support behind there. But SEMrush, because it plugs into our different platforms, right? It plugs into our social media, it plugs into our Google Analytics, our Search Console, and it kind of provides a hub to consolidate a lot of this data. And so I'll go to SEMrush not only to monitor, hey, how many visitors or how many followers, what's our growth, right? But what SEMrush provides you the ability to do is kind of dive into some of that data and say, okay, our traffic is going up. Let's dive in. What day did it go up, right? Last week. Okay, what content did we put out that day? Where did these people come from? What was the source, right? Long story short, it provides a hub to dig into data and really find the causality behind why there are trends, up or down.
And let's also not forget, we try to predict causality, right? In other words, let's not just create content. Let's not just create like another case study, another blog, but let's create a piece of content and make it amazing. But let's create it because the people who are the visitors, site visitors who are coming to our site and that want to buy, that are ready and willing to purchase our services, they want to learn more about something. So being able to view what keywords that visitors are actually using, searching for to come to us, and then building or creating content around the keywords. So I always kind of look at it, and again, not a digital marketing guy, but I look at it this way. There are some keywords that are like a land grab, right? It has a low difficulty. It's a powerful keyword. It's relevant to us. Okay, it's a land grab. How can we throw as little money at it as possible, create some content to increase our SEO for that particular keyword? Other keywords are sort of like not a land grab, but you're trying to protect your franchise value.
Yep.
So if you Google, say, business modeling, GrowthLab is like on its first page of Google. You want to protect that. So how do you protect that, right? You got to there are certain little tricks you can do. So yeah, I agree with you. SEMrush is powerful, both to understand sort of descriptive of who's coming, but also how can we inform our marketing spend? How can we better target our
I think it's
spend?
that common theme of I want to talk about 2 points real quickly before we move on is ask yourself what's the common theme or phrase, ask yourself why 5 times to get to the bottom of it, right? Visitors went up last week. Why? Went up on Wednesday. Great. Why? What content did we post, right? Keep asking yourself why, and you'll end up finding some cool data. But then another thing I want to just touch on real quickly is I hear a lot of people say, well, I'm not selling t-shirts online, right? I'm not selling something online that people can buy online. I don't care how many visitors I have, right? Or maybe they don't, maybe they do care, but they don't put much emphasis on it, right? And I would ask the question to you is how are you attracting customers then, right? Because these days of solely going back to networking or shaking hands, as you said, is gone. You have to put some more emphasis on that.
And consumers, whether business, B2B, B2C, buyers are so well informed today.
Yeah.
Because they do a lot of their research. I mean, when was the last time you went out to buy a car that you didn't do any online research? You literally just went to the lot to kick the tires, right?
Yeah.
Nobody does that anymore. So I like Google Analytics. Google Analytics is, for me, it's a quirky system. It's not very user friendly.
It's a lot there.
But it's a lot there. But what I enjoy about it is the ability to segregate the flow of visitors, how they're coming to your website, where are they landing, what are the next steps. I love looking at the bounce rate, the time spent on the site, what other pages did they go to afterwards? Because, do I really care that there's we've got some PPP loan content out there that is, it's stale, right? Let's face it, we're all kind of PPP'd out. But it has a 95% bounce rate, which is, would be really, really bad if that was our homepage. But why am I going to go and spend marketing dollars to improve the bounce rate? And by the way, there's a lot of visitors that go there. But we ask ourselves, are the visitors that are going to this site, it worked 12 months ago, and we acquired customers because of that. But are these leads that are coming to that site today, are they really in our customer segment? And the answer is, I would say 99% no. And so it doesn't make sense to peel back the onion or come up with different strategies and stuff. We'd rather focus on other pages that are more relevant to the types of customers we're looking for. So Google Analytics is a very powerful tool. It's like Granddaddy's tool versus SEMrush, which is a millennial tool, but I still geek out to Google
and
Analytics.
There are some things I will say Google Analytics has a little bit more in depth about certain things. So they're not replaceable. Right. You talked about understanding who that person was on the page and kind of some of the things they did, whether it's bounce rates and some things like that. One of the other tools that we use that's pretty cool, most people don't realize, is Crazy Egg.
Yes.
Crazy Egg, Hotjar, there's a couple of these out there.
So we used to use Hotjar, now we're using Crazy Egg. I like it too, right?
Heat mapping.
Tell me more.
So heat mapping, basically you install it on your website and allows you to understand a few things. A, pretty much how far down the page people scroll, and then B, where's their mouse going? And that's fascinating insight, right? Because just because people are navigating to one page, right? So for us, people go to the home page and they often go to the About Us page, right? So they want to learn more about our team. But in between that, where their mouse goes, where they scroll, that's some very valuable, insightful information.
I agree. And Google Analytics helps inform, so you can't spend all day on Hotjar or Crazy Egg on every single page. I mean, it just doesn't capture enough time series type of information, right? So you have to be able to pinpoint, where am I going to focus my analytics? And so I use Google Analytics to inform, okay, I want to see the behavior of the visitor on this page. Because if I am noticing, or we're noticing, for example, they go to that second fold and they bounce, then it's like, okay, what can we do in this second fold? If 50% are bouncing right at that second fold, can we slap on a video, right?
Yeah.
Can we move things around? Can we get, can we use some pop-ups, for example, right? Hello bar or Hubspot. So yeah, those little like tweaks, like it helps, and we're seeing it. So,
and with that, I want to kind of, I'm going to jump for a minute. We installed this platform on our website a few weeks ago. It's called Video Ask, and it is all about, check it out. It's actually pretty cool. Helps to inform people coming to your website about different things, right? For us, it allows users to interact with us, engage with us on a video basis, right? And it was pretty interesting because when we looked at it, we installed it, we found that if we're solely looking at the metrics of Video Ask, it was not successful.
No, you might as well have just killed it. Save $50 a month.
However, what did we find?
Well, we found that through Crazy Egg or Hotjar, we realized, hey, there's actually a lot of people interacting with this video. They're just not taking that second step on the video that gets recorded in the analytics of the Video Ask platform. But what we noticed is, as a matter of fact, it was quite interesting, like halfway down the page, this is exactly why we used this particular video. Because actually, if you remember, the original video was all the way at the bottom of the screen. I was like, wait a minute, why are we doing there where 50% of the folks are bouncing halfway through? So we moved the video to that second fold, and we noticed a lot more interaction to the point where the numbers started to go up further down the page.
We found it kept people engaged. They went to other pages. But the theme that I was trying to get across there was also that, like, you can't just take the analytics in that sole platform for granted
and not do anything with it.
Right? So that's
peel back the onion.
Peel back the onion, right?
Basic, 101 for analytics. Peel back that onion. Cool. Let's talk about outbound sales. I enjoy outbound sales. Let's talk a little bit about that. What are the tools?
So one of the main things that we use is GrowthLab.
And that's from our friend at Michael Lee at Reconciling. He was a big proponent of that.
Yep. And we use GrowthLab for cold email outreach, basically. We were frankly a bit skeptical about it at first, but we gave it a try and it's been quite successful. It allows us to basically find and find individuals, companies, and provides us a platform to reach out to them.
Right. Now, one of the things is, there's two folds, I think, to being successful at outbound cold email campaigns. It is good customer segmentation, right? And then tailoring the copyright to that customer segmentation and weaving in some formality, but keeping it somewhat casual. You don't want to make it feel spammy, but at the same time, you want it to be informative so that at the end of the day, what do you care about in sales? One thing. Get that phone call, right? Get the meeting. My old boss used to say, first job out of college, just get the meeting. The rest will work it out. So love GrowBots. Let's talk about the next one that we've been using.
I'm not sure I want to share. I want to keep this.
Sure. I think they go by a different name now too.
Yeah, it's Lift Certain. So Lift Certain, we recently started using. It's still new for us, but it basically gives a second layer of detail in terms of who the people visiting our website are. What is some of their persona? What are some of the things that they're in market for? And so in market, you've probably heard about if you run Google ads. It's basically what are people searching for on Google, right? They may be in market for CPA services. Random example here, right? But that would give us the inclination to reach out to them regarding our tax services, right? So it provides another level of clarity in terms of who's coming to the page. Yeah,
and there is a level of there's a veil there around privacy. And at the end of the day, you're going to get yourself a list of your site, people that have visited your site or folks, leads that are searching for high-level keywords, right? Not the underlying string of what their intent is, right? Their current intent. I think it's a an interesting concept. We're still
Still learning it.
learning it.
And
It's
there
been a
is
few months, but
it's not I want to go back to the theme of like these things are not silver bullets, right? It's like it's not going to provide you with a list of, if Dan comes to GrowthLab, if you come to GrowthLab, we're not going to get a list of your search history. Like that's not what we're talking about here. But if Dan is in market for a new CPA, hypothetically, that will trigger us, right? So it's staying within compliance of some of the security regulations and following Google's protocol.
I think
it's fascinating.
Obviously, the third one on the sales side, and it's not really sales, it kind of crosses marketing and other things. It's HubSpot. So let's talk a little bit about HubSpot. And if I remember, I think it was like 2.5 years ago, we made that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Because it is also not a silver bullet.
They sell themselves on that, right? So, but they're amazing. So HubSpot for us, we kind of went into it with a little bit more of the email focused mindset, right? We were using, we started off with MailChimp, I believe. We moved to Active Campaign, and the purpose of moving to Active Campaign was it kind of created some more robust campaign, email campaigns, timelines, etc., pausing, filtering, splitting, etc. We wanted to take it up a notch. We went to HubSpot, started with the emails. And from there, we've kind of grown with them over the past 2 years to now use them for the CRM, the sales pipeline, the deals, the marketing. So we use them to actually push some of our content onto social media.
Right.
And what's beautiful about them is kind of in line with SEMrush is they kind of connect the dots between a couple of things, right? Between some of our marketing efforts and some of our sales efforts, they kind of help to cross that bridge.
Yeah, and they're also a great transition throughout the sales pipeline into contracts and pricing. So we begin to accumulate lead or potential customer history during that process, whether it's notes. Of course, now we're also using Firefly to help transcribe. So we don't need 2 people on a phone call taking notes, because some of the stuff we talk about, you start building tribal knowledge, like customer-centric knowledge that's not being memorialized anywhere. And then all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, the customer signs that engagement agreement, and the customer, kind of expects you to know what they talked about, right? During the, so I love the fact that, and Firefly is just one of them. There's several out there that they connect. There's a native API to HubSpot, and it works nicely. So what else would you say that is important on the sales side? Obviously, Google ads, LinkedIn ads.
Google ads, LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads. Personally, we don't use those as much. We've dabbled in them. I think we are kind of focused on some other efforts right now. They are successful if there's urgency, basically is what kind of urgency and the type of business you are, right? I think of legal firms for
repairs, plumbing, electricians. Yeah.
Well, even legal firms though is a little bit hard, right? Is kind of where I was going. But a plumber, right? A quick plumber in Rhode Island. Great ad, right? And if you search that, you're gonna find a ton of them. But for us, we are focused more on that organic. So it's really, don't think of Google ads, these ads as, once again, your silver bullet.
Yeah. Now, we should talk about retargeting, because retargeting is a strategy, and it does go through the advertising platforms of these social media companies, where
great point.
Whether it is leads that are warm, leads that we've had at least one touch point with, even site visitors, people who have visited the website. You've got these pixels, we've got, other lists that we kind of have, there's some transparency there. We do use retargeting strategies for warm leads.
Yes, for people that have already found out about us.
Yeah.
But that's, once again, that's on a platform by platform basis. So that's not something that's going to work with Google, and but it will with, say, social media platforms, right?
Yeah, and we've dabbled with creating affinity groups in Google, and we just haven't felt the ROI was there, or at least we didn't have the budget or the resources to thinly spread that effort. One thing I do want to bring up that has less to do with marketing, but still in that sales, is inside sales, right? Something that companies have shied away from. Like who wants to make cold calls, who wants to deal with the gatekeepers, the executive admins, right? But let's face it, telephones have been probably the most underutilized method to connect with leads in the last year, because nobody's in the office, and so the phones kind of get redirected. So that's another thing that we are doubling down on is inside sales.
Yep.
So let's talk lastly here,
social. So we are big believers in social, with a caveat to that. Between Clubhouse, I'll say, I'll group that in there, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I think that's all we've used. Not TikTok so much, but
no, not much TikTok here.
I'd like to. But why do we use those? Why are we big believers in those? Because once again, it goes back to our strategy about content, right? Whether it's a blog, whether it's a video that we push. Social media is your avenue to reach your audience, right? And so we are not posting, or rather, we are posting some of our new content, some rehashing some old content, but it's really just a distribution platform.
It's just another distribution platform, because you go back to the journey. Is everybody, when they start a business, first thing you get is the logo. Second thing is the website, the name, obviously. And then you have a Facebook page, you got your LinkedIn page. And then you realize, after all of your close friends are getting sort of sick of your posts, the only people that are liking your posts are like your mom, your grandmother. And that's not who you're trying to reach, right? Yeah. In that first 6 months, that's great. But beyond that, you need to be more strategic with your social platform, because you can't do everything, right? So you got to pick and choose.
Yeah, think of it as a distribution platform. I think that's the key here, because it's not like connecting with people on your LinkedIn. That's great, or maybe Instagram, right? Like that's great, right? Build up your following, but that's not going to get you necessarily more customers. It's not just about that next follower. Think of it as a distribution platform, because pretty much no matter what type of business you are in, for the most part, I'm making a blanket statement here. Yep. What you want them to do is actually go back to your website. We have never, maybe once, I can think on our hands, like someone reached out to us on Instagram and been like, hey, can we work with you guys? Right? Like that doesn't happen, right?
No, unless it's a direct.
Unless we direct message them first, right? And so think of it as a distribution platform, because you want to get content on there that's going to drive people back to your website, where then you can use the analytics tools to understand who they are, what they're doing.
I think one we would also add on the social is the YouTube channel. We did experiment with that about 12 months ago. Yep. And I would say it's been pretty successful. Some of the videos have truly popped. Are we going to be the 100,000 million views? No, we're not. That's not our intent here. Nope. Our intent with marketing is to shorten that sales conversion cycle, and to grab more leads. The other the other tool I wanted to talk about is Wide Whale, the plug for one of our customers. Wide Whale, because let's face it, one of the nice things about Google is the Google reviews. And getting more Google reviews from customers is also a great way to increase your SEO. And Wide Whale kind of helps you with that. You close let's say you sell your product, you close your deal, and a few days later, a few months later, you're going to get interactions from Wide Whale. So that's also a good plug for improving SEO. So customers are just a great way to leverage to increase SEO.
Yeah.
And that kind of, coming to the end here, we talked a little bit about the text messaging. That I still kind of put that out in the risk experimenting bucket. For sure. Not boring yet. Again, we don't really have a lot of cadence on that. We're still trying to figure out how that works. And then obviously we talked about our website, having gone from WordPress to Duda. You were a proponent of that. You want to talk a little bit about Duda and why?
Close with that. We were big WordPress maybe not fans, but that's kind of the standard in some way, right? So we originally had a outside firm build us a WordPress site, came in a few years later, redesigned that, reiterated on our WordPress existence. And what we found was, with our trend of trying to analyze the data and kind of improve these different things and knowing who our consumers are. We were adding like plugins, we're doing different adjustments, we're adding a lot of blogs, we're adding a lot of content to the site, and we found like every 24, 36 hours, the website would be down or be broken, or mobile would look funky.
Yeah.
You just can't be having that.
No.
And so
we don't have the resources to manage. And let's face it, the average small business,
99% of
any
businesses
business
don't.
under 30, $40 million, you know, to have folks on staff that can actually manage.
And it's one thing if you're doing it every 3 months.
Yeah.
It's another thing if you're doing it every other day.
Yeah. It's not a fun experience.
No, it was not. And so there's certain times and places for WordPress. I'm not trying to knock them, but we use a platform Duda, D-U-D-A. I think it's .co,
Yes.
I remember. Awesome platform. Think of it as more of that drag and drop style of WordPress, but they have a lot of internal SEO capabilities. I know Google's coming out with a new algorithm that adjusts how websites are being ranked by them. Duda takes all of that internally and they kind of readjust our website for us. So they're an awesome platform for that. They also include the hosting as part of it, the hosting, the SSL certificate, a bunch of these different items that you want to have. They take care of that, and it's drag and drop. So you don't need a tech background. You don't need to know how to code things.
There's limitations in terms of design and stuff, but if you can, you know, your customers aren't coming to you and buying from you because the design of your website.
Like a Craigslist.
Right. Yeah. Right. So that's a little bit of the journey here.
Yep.
This was fun. We do use a lot of these tools, but we use them again through the lens of, you know, processes, systems, people, right? It's cadence, it's the rigor that comes out of this in order to tweak SEO, to manage decision-making, better decision-making. But we still do love we still love to take risks and experiment, but that cannot be our marketing strategy. Our marketing has to be boring again. So
it's the hamster wheel versus the evergreen, right?
Agreed. All right, buddy.
Cool.
Nice job.
It's fun.